Hey Algebra 1. So today we're going to do 2.8, solving multi-step inequalities, and there is some information for us to review at the top. The big thing for today is we're going to be using something called interval notation, and it's another way to express our answers of an inequality. It uses parentheses and brackets to show where our number line graph starts and ends. We use parentheses when it's an open circle, and we use lovely brackets when it's a closed circle, and I will run through many examples. We're also going to use parentheses when we use something called the infinity or the negative infinity. So let's just go ahead and start solving, and from there we will actually address the interval notation. So we're going to solve these just like we do equations. This should be review. So we're going to solve the first one by distributing, which we already know how to do. We have 4x plus 12 is greater than negative 24. Subtract 12. We get negative 36. Divide by 4. And x is greater than negative 9. Okay, because we have just a greater than sign, it's going to be an open circle, and it's pointing to the right, so we're going to shade to our right. So go ahead and label your number line. Okay, negative 9, negative 11 goes to the left, negative 7 on the right. It will be an open circle, and I would shade to the right like I just said. Okay, so my starting point was at negative 9, and it was open, so that deserves a parentheses. And then this goes on and on and on and on and on forever, so that's going to positive infinity. Okay, moving down the line. Number 3. Same thing, we're going to start by distributing. We'll combine like terms, and then we will solve. So distribute your negative 2 to give you negative 2x plus 8. Combine like terms to get 5x. Go ahead and subtract 8. Negative 10, divide by 5, and we should get x is less than or equal to negative 2. Now we will have a closed circle, and my inequality points left, so I will shade left. Negative 2, it's going to be negative 4, and 0. Closed circle and shaded left. Okay, so technically my starting point from interval notation is going to be somewhere out in here that goes on forever and ever, and that's represented by the negative infinity sign. But then it stops when I get to negative 2, and if it's closed, it deserves a bracket. Looking at number 4, we are going to distribute just like in the last one. Give you negative 8x plus 8, subtract x. Combine like terms, which is negative 9x. Subtract 8, give you negative 36, divide by negative 9. Now because I just divided by a negative, so there and there, that means this has to change directions. So now x is greater than or equal to 4. It should be closed, and now it is going to be shaded to the right. Alright, so my number line. Here's 4, 6, 2. Close dot. Shaded right. Okay. My starting point was at 4 and it includes it, so it's 4 bracket. And it goes on and on forever, so going to infinity. Let's go to page 2 where things get a little bit more difficult. Okay, so let's go ahead and do number 6. Number 6. So we have variables on both sides now, so we need to get them together on one side. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 2x. I'm subtracting because it's a positive. So I have negative 1 is less than or equal to 3x plus 20. Okay. From here, I'm going to subtract 20. So I have negative 21. Last step is to divide by 3. So now I will have x is greater than or equal to negative 7. And now remember, we want our variable on the left, so I need to turn all of it around. So it needs to turn around. That means I'm going to put the x in the front. I will turn around my inequality sign, and the negative 7 goes in the back. So it needs to completely flip. Now we are ready to graph. So negative 7, negative 9, negative 5. We have a closed circle. It's pointing right, so I'm going right. Because it's closed and I started there, it's the smallest point, it's at negative 7, and it goes on forever to positive numbers. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at number 8. And we need to distribute. So go ahead and distribute the negative 3. So we'll have negative 3x, subtract 6. Bring everything else down. Combine like terms, which is negative 6x. You need to get your variables to one side. So I'll just go ahead and subtract my 2x. Give me negative 8x. I will add 6. Give me 24. I'll go ahead and rewrite this over here since I ran out of room. Okay. My last step is to divide by a negative, and because I divided by a negative, I need to flip my sign, and I will get negative 3. Graph it on your number line. It's an open circle, and it is going to the right. I started at negative 3, but because it's open, it's negative in a parentheses, and it goes on forever. All right, let's go ahead and do number 10. Okay, so number 10, we need to distribute on both sides of our inequality signs. So I'm really taking a negative 1. So this will be negative 3x, subtract 3. And take negative 4, x, and then plus 8. Combine like terms to give you negative 5x. and combine these two like terms, which gives you a positive 6. Okay, go ahead and add 4x, which gives you negative 1x. Add 3. So we have negative 1x is greater than 9. The last step would be to divide by a negative 1. I just divided by a negative, so you need to turn it all around. And my answer is x is less than negative 9. So we're going to go to our number line and find negative 9, negative 11, negative 7. We have an open circle. It is pointing left, so I need to go left to all the numbers that are smaller. So I'm going to start with my smallest number, which in this case is a negative infinity. It stops at negative 9, but because it's an open circle, I am going to use a parentheses. It would be awesome if you guys went and did number 9. And I also wanted you guys to do number 5. So go ahead and do these two. Oops, marking all over the place. Go ahead and do these two for me for tomorrow. Okay.